Hi, Grade 6. Today, I'd like to talk with you about the second lesson in Unit 3, which is called the lunar eclipse. The lunar eclipse phenomena, it's an astronomical phenomenon which occurs when Sun, Earth, and Moon are nearly on one straight line with the Earth in the middle, hiding the sunlight from the Moon. So, here the Earth is in the middle. In the solar eclipse, the Moon was in the middle, but here Earth in the middle between Sun and Moon, hiding the sunlight from the Moon. Let's know some information about lunar eclipse. Information number 1, that the lunar eclipse occurs twice per year. Twice per year. Also, it occurs in the middle of the lunar months at full moon phase when Earth hides all the sunlight or part of it from Moon. Number 3, it's seen at night from any place on the Earth when the sun is behind the horizon. Number 4, it takes a long time. It lasts for an hour or 2 hours or more than 2 hours. Number 5, it doesn't require any precautions or special devices or special glasses to observe it, because it doesn't harm eyes when looking at it. Give reason why the lunar eclipse occurs in the middle of the lunar months, full moon. Because in the middle of the lunar months, the Earth lies between the Sun and the Moon. For that, the lunar eclipse is happening. What are the types of the lunar eclipse? We talked about the solar eclipse and we said that there are 3 types of the solar eclipse: total solar eclipse and partial solar eclipse and annular solar eclipse. Can you remember? About the lunar eclipse, there are 2 types only: total lunar eclipse and partial lunar eclipse. Let's talk about the total lunar eclipse. It's the lunar eclipse which occurs when the whole moon enters the shadow area of the Earth, which is called umbra. When all the moon is inside the shadow area of the Earth, which is called umbra, the dark inner shadow, here total lunar eclipse is forming. During the start of the total lunar eclipse, the color of the moon tends to be red. Why? Why during the start or in the beginning of the total lunar eclipse, the color of the moon changed into red color? The reason, because the Earth's atmosphere doesn't absorb the infrared rays that coming from the sun and refract them on the moon. What about the partial lunar eclipse? The partial lunar eclipse is the lunar eclipse which occurs when a part of the moon enters the shadow area of the Earth, which is called umbra. يعني part of the moon inside the umbra and the other part of the moon inside the penumbra, the semi-shadow area of the moon. In this case, partial lunar eclipse is happening. This is partial lunar eclipse. So when the whole moon enters the semi-shadow area, which is the penumbra, what will happen? We said that if all the moon inside the umbra, so total lunar eclipse is happening. If part of the moon in the umbra and the other part in the penumbra, partial lunar eclipse. But what about if all the moon inside the penumbra, the semi-shadow area of the earth? Here the moonlight turns to be faint without being eclipsed. And this phenomenon is known as lunar non-eclipse. Just the moon turns to be faint without being eclipsed when all the moon in the penumbra. In the lunar eclipse, there is no annular lunar eclipse. Why? Why there is no annular lunar eclipse like the solar eclipse? There is annular solar eclipse, but there is no annular lunar eclipse because the Earth had a great size relative to that of the moon. So it always blocks all the sunlight when it comes between the sun and the moon. So the reason here, because the Earth had a great size relative to that of the moon. So the Earth always blocks all the sunlight when it comes between the sun and the moon. Yani the moon can't be seen as the lightning ring like the sun. It can't be happen because the Earth has a greater size than the moon. Okay, let's make a comparison between the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. Number one, the solar eclipse, when moon in the middle between Earth and Sun, or the Earth, moon and Sun on one straight line, and the moon is in the middle. What about lunar eclipse? When Earth, moon and Sun on one straight line, and the Earth is in the middle between moon and Sun. What about the time of occurrence? Solar eclipse, it's seen at the morning only. Lunar eclipse, it's seen at the night only. What about the duration? Solar eclipse, its duration doesn't exceed 7 minutes and few seconds, while the lunar eclipse, its duration may last for more than 2 hours. What about the harm? The solar eclipse causes serious harm to the eyes. It may cause blindness. What about the lunar? No, it doesn't cause any harm to the eyes. What about the safety precautions? The solar eclipse requires special glasses to observe it. You must wear special glasses to observe it. While the lunar eclipse, it doesn't require any special devices or special glasses to observe it. You can see the lunar eclipse with your naked eyes without being harmed. Number 7, the types of the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. Solar eclipse, 3 types: total solar eclipse, partial solar eclipse, and annular solar eclipse. What about the lunar? The lunar eclipse, 2 types: total lunar eclipse and partial lunar eclipse. I hope you understand the lunar eclipse. I hope you enjoyed the lesson of the solar and the lunar eclipse. Both of them are interesting lessons. Try to study the lunar eclipse well. then try to answer worksheet number 6 by yourself, and goodbye.